Hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, precisionhydration.com.
Leaders in triathlete sweat testing and hydration. With multi-strength electrolytes that match how you sweat, you can get 15% off with the code OxygenAddict15. And Rob, there's going to be a hydration workshop in Chester in February. We will have more details to follow.
More details to follow, that's right. At Team Oxygen Addict at team.oxygenaddict.com.
Online triathlon coaching, providing you with a personalised triathlon training plan, guidance from your coach Rob Wilby, group video coaching calls, exclusive member discounts, and a private Facebook group to chat to your supportive teammates and your coach.
And fueledbycake.com.
That'll be my charity cake recipe book featuring Vicky Holland, Emma Pooley, Laura Siddle, Chrissy Wellington, Rachel Joyce, and loads more. It's all for charity and it's only £10.
And a big shout out and thank you to our patrons
who support the show with a monthly donation. Thank you.
Indeedy so, and some people with an annual donation as well. We've got a new annual option on there, and a few people have put the names down over the last couple of weeks. So actually, give me a shout out because I've got the list here. We're very grateful to Peter King and Kirk Barlow for signing up over the last week. So thanks, chaps, very much appreciated. And welcome to the show. Hells, how on earth are you today?
I'm all right, Rob. Feeling a little bit croaky today. That blinking cold that's gone round everywhere. I'm sort of feeling a bit, just a bit sluggish. Today was Blue Monday, wasn't it?
Oh, is that what it was today?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So you just look around and then my brother lives abroad, so he sent me photos of blue skies and I was like, well, check this out, grey skies and, office lighting, which is, just makes you want to vomit.
You know what you've got to do, Hells, if you've got to book a training camp abroad, get yourself something booked to the Canaries. That's the answer. Something to look forward to. Yeah,
I do have quite a nice thing to look forward to in March, actually. So, that's what's on the cards. Yes.
Nice.
So I'm very excited about that.
Nice. We'll keep that under the hat for now, hey, Rodney?
Yeah. Should be good.
Cracking. Have you had a good week? You managed to get out much?
What have I done? I've been swimming quite a bit, Rob.
Good.
20-minute run.
Like feeling okay? You back on it?
Yeah.
That's positive.
Pain-free. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, man, that's awesome. And then, 20 minutes, that's great.
Yeah, I went on the turbo again and didn't fly off this time.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I took, as I have been for a while, the spin session for the Tri Club, and I just love it.
So you're keeping it ticking over.
Keeping it ticking over. Can you imagine being in a spin class with me?
I'd imagine there's a lot of high energy and a lot of kind of disco, techno crossover, Latin American pop.
You're kind of there. Yeah.
And some AC/DC chucked in for good measure.
I have to cater for many different people. So, yes, definitely.
We should run that as a prize. We should run a place at one of your spin sessions for the listeners.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So there we go. That's what I've been up to. What about you?
I have, what's been going on for me? Yeah, a bit of swimming, bit of biking, lots of running. Got in the pool a couple of times, which is good. So I've just got back in the water swimmer's shoulders, which is evidence of my exceedingly poor technique at the moment. Managed to get out for a couple of rides outdoors, which was lovely. And plenty of running. So it's all good for me, mate.
Oh, I love it. And have you entered stuff this year?
Yes, the first thing looming for me, I'm going to Lanza with a mate to do, we're having a week out there with training, and there's a 70.3 on the end of March, like an unofficial 70.3. So we're going to go do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't think I want to set the world on fire, but it's something to keep me honest for the next 12 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's really cool. That's a nice little goal.
Yeah. I've got no idea how I'm going to ride in the aero position outdoors between now and then, though. It's going to be ugly, isn't it?
Oh, maybe. Well, will it be at the end of the week in Lanzarote?
Yes. So there you go. There's the plan.
There you go. There's no need to panic.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't worry about it.
Really sore shoulders and neck by that point. Actually, we'll talk more about that in our Coach's Couch question later on, because it's talking about aero position and bikes and stuff. So we'll come back to that one.
We will do that. And Rob, also coming up, we have an interview with Flora Duffy.
The Flora Duffy?
Yep. Flora Duffy, who defended her world title this year. She just got married. She's had an amazing couple of seasons, and yeah, it was really cool to chat to her, I guess, towards the end of her little break as she starts to ramp it up again. She'll be racing at Abu Dhabi. And then, Rob, this bit's really cool, and you'll have to listen out for this. She did only her second ever Olympic distance triathlon at the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne in 2006.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? As a teenager from Bermuda, you know?
Talking about you jumping in at the deep end.
Correct. And then suddenly lining up with all these like superstars around you. It's really cool. So listen out for the interview with Flora Duffy
hang around for
in a
that
little
later
bit.
on. Great stuff. All right, well, we've actually got a bit of racing's happened this year, haven't we? So we'll jump straight in with results, sponsored by precisionhydration.com. So we're really happy PH are back on board as sponsors, and they're in for a whole year, which is fantastic for us and for you guys as well, because you can get 15% off anything on the Precision Hydration website by using the code OxygenAddict15. Hells, the big news from me was, you know how much cramp I got when I was in the pool swimming last week?
Zero
cramp. I actually made a little plan. Imagine I was my own athlete. What would you say to someone who's suffering from lots of cramp in the pool? You'd say, get yourself your Precision Hydration in your bottle, have it beforehand, have it while you're swimming. And lo and behold, bit of forward planning, who knew? No cramp whatsoever. So I'm thoroughly crediting PH with my success, and individual results may vary and all that, but as far as I'm concerned, it's Dumbo's feather. It's coming with me to the pool. I'm sticking one of the paper things under my hat as I go in there. Yeah, it was great. Loved it. So if you're a new listener to the show, if you go to the Precision Hydration website, you can do an online sweat test, which will give you a guideline to how much you sweat and the kind of sweater that you are. If you can see them in person, you can go and actually have your sweat tested professionally with some medical equipment. And we haven't got the exact dates yet, but in fact, I think it's February the 1st. There's more details to follow, and it's going to be in Chester. So they're going to send those through. So if you're based in the Northwest, on February the 1st, which is going to be a Thursday, they're going to be up here doing some testing. So yeah, more details to follow there, and we'll be able to put you in contact with them. And if you're the kind of person who suffers from lots of cramps, or if you're the kind of person who has horror show performances when it's really hot on race day, then these are the guys to see. Number one hydration company in the world, we think. So get down and see them.
Awesome. So, Rob, just one result, as we were saying, to bring you, because the racing has started again in the Southern Hemisphere, and Chile was the venue for the Ironman 70.3 Pucon, and it was a win, Rob, for Lionel Sanders. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? We haven't said that much on this show. We
should have it pre-recorded. We should have like a little radio jingle we could play. Another win for Lionel.
So he came out of the water with over 3 minutes down. It was like he came out in 10th place. Yeah, 3 minutes down, but they're dominated with a 2 hour, 1 minute, 16-second bike split. And then he recorded a 1:16:25 half marathon, which was the second fastest of the day. So he finished in 3:48:44. Second place was Mauricio Mendez of Mexico in 3:56, just ahead of another Chilean, Felipe Barraza, in 3:58. And then, Rob, in the women's race, home favourite Barbara Riveros won for the 4th time running, which is
domination, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty awesome. And it would be really cool, wouldn't it? Where, you go back to Chile, triathlon is, probably not the biggest sport in Chile, yet you'd be seen as a bit of a superstar, wouldn't you? So going back there, winning
race.
Absolute comfortable winner in 4:18 over Ellie Salthouse of Australia in 4:28, and then Valentina Carvalho, also Chile, in 4:41 was third.
Well, I had a quick nosy at Lionel's result there, because when I read our 3 minutes down out the water, I thought, that's not great for the lad. But looking at, I think there was a super swimmer in the pack, and then everybody else pretty much swam about a minute and a half into him. So that's real. If he's only a minute and a half down on the main lead pack, that's again real progress he's made in a couple of months over the winter, hasn't it? So
totally
it's good stuff for him. And then 2:01 on the bike. to be 10 minutes quicker, 10 clear minutes quicker than anyone else in the field, and a casual 1:16 half marathon to finish up. He's just on fire in what's just a early season stroll in the park for him, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Rob, in a few weeks' time, we are going to hear from Dave Scott, right?
Yeah.
Dave Scott, 6 times Kona winner. I asked him about Lionel Sanders, and he says clearly he is an absolute phenomenal athlete. However, he says he reckons he races too much.
Interesting.
And he said a number of the top pros he feels race too much. So honestly, it's a very, very interesting interview. You're genuinely going to love it. So yeah, he is full of admiration and respect for Lionel Sanders, but he does think that he's just racing a little bit too much.
I think the thing that we don't know is how hard Lionel's had to go to do that. I think it's easy to assume he's clearly gone full on the bike, hasn't he? But maybe a 1:16 half marathon to him is 10 minutes outside his capabilities these days. Maybe that's just like that's a training jog for him. And actually, yeah, I know what you mean. I know where he's coming from. There's a lot of racing going on, and there's a lot of big money races and big points races around these days to tempt people to do it. But you can make the argument, can't you? That's a bit of a cherry pick for Lionel, that race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you could go there and and you know,
it's probably 10 grand for first, isn't it, or something
exactly.
like that. So
happy days, I know, and that's the thing. And now that it's so professional, and you've got to make a living and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but very, very interesting thoughts from Dave Scott. So that will be out in a couple of weeks' time, and definitely one to look out for.
Yeah, and we'll have more stuff as well, exclusive in the patrons only podcast that'll be coming out. We've got some extra stuff from Dave Scott to go in that as well. So if you want to, if you already have signed up to be a patron, thank you very much. And if you haven't, you'll get exclusive access to that patrons only podcast as well. That was pretty much all the racing for this week, wasn't it?
And that was it. Yeah, one easy. There you go. Bish, bosh, bash. Done.
At least we had a race to report on in January, though.
Exactly.
Love that. Thanks, Lionel. Another win for Lionel.
How's the singing going, Rob?
Yeah, not that great.
If anyone, again, if you're new to the show, then you might not know about Rob's past.
I was always a guitarist. In my defence, Helen, I was always a guitarist. As you can probably tell by me murdering our new jingle. If you bait me, Hells, I'm going to record it and use it on every show he wins something on, so be careful.
But I'm not going to do that. Right, let's move on, Rob. Coach's Couch, which is sponsored by Team Oxygen Addict.
Yeah, you can get a 2-week sample training plan for triathlon at either 70.39 Ironman or sprint and Olympic distance for just £1. If you send us an email to help@oxygenaddict.com, we'll give you a 2-week training plan within your own Training Peaks account. You can get a sample of what structured training feels like. And if it's not for you, I'll eat my hat, but it's only £1 to give it a try. So give it a go. We think it's one of the best solutions out there for cost-effective coaching. So give us a go. What have we got to lose, hey Hells?
If you have a chocolate flavored hat, I'm just saying. If some people might not agree, so I'm just.
Well, yeah.
Most people will. Most people do. Give it a whirl. Right, Rob. Adam Waite has sent in a question about turbo sessions, and he says, when doing the turbo sessions, I struggle to hold a consistent power output in the aero position. This is especially present in training zones, like zone 3, zone 4. So basically as the intensity ramps up, and he says, I feel like I'm much stronger on the drops.
Okay. So this is really an aero position question. Adam's background is he's just bought himself a TT bike for the first time. So he's moved from doing all of his training on his road bike on the turbo to doing his training on his new TT bike on the turbo. And he's had that experience that a lot of people do when they swap from road bike to aero bike, and he's found out that his power has massively dropped. He can put out much more power on his road bike position than he can in his TT position, in his aero position, and even when he's on his aero bike, he's putting out more power sitting up on the bull horns than he is in the aero position. And obviously his worry is, do you know what, coach? I spent all this money on a TT bike, and actually it looks like it's done me a load of damage here. And I think this is something that a lot of people go through. And so I thought it would be a great question to get on the show and say, look, that's okay. It happens to nearly everybody. Hardly anybody can put out the same kind of power in the aero position as they can in a road position, especially the first few times they ride on it. So the good news is it is going to improve with training, so stick with it and you will quickly adapt to riding in a different position. And basically it's down to your body just recruiting different muscles and different firing patterns when you're much more tucked over in the aero position. And it's not unusual to see a gap of 10%, 15% drop in power when you go onto the TT bike position. Now the thing to bear in mind is it's not that important. If you're putting out, 300 watts on your road bike at threshold and you're only putting out 260 watts at threshold in your TT position, it's not the raw number that matters, because you've got to remember you're going to be much faster for the equivalent effort on your TT bike because you'll be so much more aerodynamic. So the key is, yes, it's going to feel weird. Yes, it's going to be a strange position at first. Yes, at first you'll be thinking, how the hell am I ever going to see where I'm going? All of these things can be trained, and the only way you're going to get better at them is by training in them. And that video that popped up this week with, I don't know if you saw this, Ali Brownlee and Seb Keenlay training together. I think it's a Red Bull advert. Seb Keenlay came over to Yorkshire and they did some training, but they're both riding around in their TT bikes. And do you know what? They don't look that comfortable, Hells, riding around on the back roads of Yorkshire, funnily enough, because they're not really made for riding around on the back roads of Yorkshire. And it's not a natural position, and we have to adapt to it. So it's okay that the power's dropped. You're going to be much faster because of your improved aerodynamics. And the other thing to mention when we're talking about the aero bike is it definitely takes time to get different muscles fit. And by that I mean it's not just your bum and your legs that are important, it's your neck muscles and your shoulder muscles. As you're riding along for more than a few minutes at a time, it's hard to hold your head in that position. It's going to be really uncomfortable at first probably, but again you'll really, really quickly adapt to it. So within 3 or 4 rides it'll be fine. But it's not unusual. First ride outdoors of the year on the TT bike, you find yourself thinking after 20 minutes, can't even see where I'm going, and you have to sit up because your neck and your shoulders are getting so sore. So that's another thing that can be trained and will be helped by being on the turbo in the winter time. And one last tip is, when you're doing training in the aero position on your turbo trainer, in fact on any bike in any position, use chamois cream, because anything that reduces the friction between your undercarriage and the saddle is going to help you maintain that slightly uncomfortable position for slightly longer. And honestly, the effect of chamois cream, if you've never used it, for the sake of 10 quid for a pot of cream, it will massively increase the amount of comfort you feel as you're riding along. So that's my other top tip there.
Oh, and Rob, can I give a tip of chamois cream, which I have found worked for me. This got us through Italy.
Helen's a girl who knows about saddle discomfort during long rides. So listen up, everyone. And
this was the special pot of cream that I was really considering not taking, and boy, we were glad that we packed it. Yeah. So it is ASOS or ASOS, yeah. ASSOS. And it's a white pot. It's made in Switzerland, and chamois cream. That is it. It says cycling body R&D, Rob. But yeah, white pot, ASSOS.
Do you know what? We're not sponsored by them, but we should be. We should contact them and ask for a sponsorship, because that's exactly who I use, because it's just the best. It isn't the cheapest, but it's just so, it makes you so much more comfortable, doesn't it?
Definitely. And Rob, I will always also be a big fan of that proper bike fit on a TT bike. It makes such a difference to your comfort.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I would absolutely back a good bike fit all the way. It's incredible, actually, because what you think is a decent setup, and then you go and see someone who actually knows what they're talking about, and it's amazing. At first you're like, oh, this feels so different, but once you get riding, it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, so listen back actually. Check out the podcast we did with Richard Malik from Free Speed. He's got some great free information about helping your bike fit on there. And I've been contacted from 2 separate listeners recently who've been to see Richard for a bike fit after listening to that interview and said it was just a fantastic experience. So loads of free information in that one. Go back and check it out. All right, let's do the interview of the week, Hells. This is a score. This is a scoop. Hells, who's our interview of the week with, please?
Yeah, absolutely delighted, Rob, that we were able to get Flora Duffy on the podcast. She was brilliant to get on. It was funny. We were chatting about her recent wedding over the Christmas holidays. Obviously, how she mixes up Xterra and the ITU circuit. She was going to dip her toes into 70.3 at the very end of last season, but chose not to. But basically, she is just sublimely talented, Rob, across the board. And it was great to have her on and talk about so many things, and also the importance of, which we've heard from so many different people as well, that balance between, taking everything so seriously and actually needing a bit of time out as well. Flora Duffy, but you might have changed your surname. Welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. Have you changed your surname?
Hey, thanks for having me. No, I have not changed it. I'm still Flora Duffy. However, I might change it legally, but that also is so much admin. I think I'm just going to say Flora Duffy.
That's what I did. Shh, I didn't do it. I haven't. I've done exactly the same. I've stayed Helen Murray. I was like, no, we'll stick with that. Congratulations, though. Did you have a lovely wedding?
Thank you. Yeah, I did. It was amazing. It was. We got engaged in April and got married December 16th. And obviously through that time period, there was a heck of a lot of racing going on. And we had a wedding planner, and I just gave her a few things that I wanted, the look and the feel, some pictures, and was like, I'm probably not going to talk to you much until after November 17th. But she did an amazing job, and the day was just perfect. Flew by, but it was great.
Do you feel kind of back to reality or not quite yet?
Well, I'm back training, and I guess, Christmas is over, New Year's is done, we're into 2018, so yeah, I kind of feel like I am back to reality a little bit, trying to get back into my rhythm and routine. Quite like being in a routine, so trying to get back into that and, get away from this, getting married and your honeymoon and all that is fantastic. But at some point, yeah, I need to get quickly back into reality because racing is not too far away.
Did you allow yourself a little bit of vino and to celebrate and actually relax and things?
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I feel like I've almost been sort of on holiday since after Rotterdam, the grand final. I kind of decided, okay, the WTSs, that's my main thing. So I'm focusing all on that. And then whatever I do after Rotterdam is just icing on the cake. So for me, it was like I dropped training a level going into Xterra, and then I dropped it further sort of going into Island House. It injected a lot of balance into my life in between all of that. However, the one concern I did have about, sort of relaxing leading into the wedding is about my dress still fitting. Because I got fit not too long after Rotterdam. And obviously, not like its size changes a huge amount, but it does enough that a tight-fitting garment can look not so good. So to be honest, that was my biggest stressor post-Rotterdam, was to stay somewhat in the same shape till December 16th, whilst, obviously drinking lots of wine and allowing myself to relax and eat what I wanted. Yeah. So, but across that hurdle, it fit, and there we go.
Excellent. Well done. Greatest achievement of 2017?
Yeah, basically.
You mentioned that Xterra was, that was going to be the icing on the cake. That was pretty damn fine icing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was really cool. And it was, for me, I went into it with like a totally different mindset this year. Obviously, I was still preparing. I really wanted to win, because to win 4 in a row would be the first time that I think anyone, or definitely a female, had ever done it. No, it's the first time anyone would do it, and was cool that a female was going to potentially do it for the first time. So I definitely knew I had to keep training up and focusing on that. But I just felt like, you know, leading into the race that week there, I was just really just enjoying the moment of being in Maui and having this opportunity to accomplish what I could accomplish. And yeah, just try to take it in my stride and really enjoy it rather than put a lot of pressure on myself. And yeah, I turned out to have, I think, one of my better performances there. We got lucky. The course was absolutely perfect. The year before, it was a crazy muddy bath, and it was pretty horrible. But yeah, this year was fantastic, and yeah, super happy with it.
And when you did claim that fourth title, 5 years ago, if someone said, or 6, 7 years ago, if someone had said you're gonna win 4 Xterra titles, would you have been like, oh, shut up?
Yeah, no, of course. I would have thought they were like out of their mind.
What do you love about Xterra compared to the WTF series?
What I love, well, I think I like that it's so different. For me now, it's like it's sort of changed throughout the years, but for me now, it's like almost like an escape from the like more stiff and like high performance and high intensity of the WTS circuit. Whereas Xterra for me, it's like more adventure. Like you're tackling so many elements out there on the course, and like for me, like I might like crash or something might happen to me on the bike, and obviously then you just pick yourself back up and you get back on your bike and off you go. And I think that happens to a lot of other age groupers and other pros out there, that you're all sort of tackling this course together, and just because you might win it doesn't mean you didn't have some like crazy catastrophe go wrong out there, but you overcame it and you get to the finish. So for me, I like it in those sense that it's just so different. Obviously there is a high performance element, but just for me, where I am in my current career, it's just a really fun escape. That obviously is a lot of hard work, but I somehow enjoy it.
And what are the challenges that you face trying to combine the two?
Yeah, so to combine the two, it's actually pretty tricky now. I've only raced 2 Xterras a year, so I'll do one Xterra in South Africa, which is February 23rd, and then I'll do Xterra Worlds, which is the end of October, because the other months it's just taken over with WTS at the moment. I would like to race more Xterra, it's just not possible. However, saying that, I still do ride my mountain bike throughout the year. So I guess the biggest challenge would be, keeping your mountain bike skills up whilst trying to focus completely on the road.
And when you come into riding in the pack in the WTS series, do you sometimes look around you and go, my God, you should all get on a mountain bike, all get on the trails, and then you would all have bike handling skills?
Sometimes, yes. Although sometimes that can work against you, because obviously you get on a mountain bike, you get on a trail, you might have 1 or 2 pretty bad crashes. Not to like break or anything, but you're probably going to slide out. And I think sometimes that works against developing bike handling skills, because then you get a little bit more timid and scared. So I don't know, it can go either way, but yeah. But I have noticed that a lot more girls this off season have been on cyclocross bikes doing skills and such. So I think there might be a few people catching on. So we'll see next year.
Oh, really? Is that one thing that you would actually, if you were to be able to change a few things in the WTS series, would that be one that actually better bike handling skills?
Sure, yes and no. I think the moment it's working quite well for me, so I wouldn't want to change it too much. But yeah, of course, I think the whole that level, that side of things does need to be lifted. So yeah, and I think people are, and I think it's hard because some girls that literally they come from a running background or swimming background, and they've only just gotten on a bike like a few years ago, and then you chuck them into these super technical courses, riding with 20 or 30 other girls, and sometimes in the rain, and it can be quite tough. So I definitely have sympathy, but yeah, at the same time, that's something that I really worked on throughout the years, and put the time and the effort in. So I think, yeah, just in general, that should be a very important part of every aspiring ITU athlete.
How excited are you that the World Triathlon Series is going to be coming to Bermuda.
Yeah, it's really cool that I'll be in Bermuda this year. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I've been quite involved with the bid and sort of the promotion of the race, which is pretty neat. So when I was growing up, so when I was about 9 or 10, there was an ITU World Cup there. So for me as a 10-year-old, I went out and, watched the stars at the time do their thing in Bermuda on the same course that we'll be doing. And, that moment back then sort of inspired me to be a professional triathlete. I saw it like, hey, you can actually do this as a job and, hopefully make it work. So it's pretty neat that it comes full circle and I get to race there in April. And I mean, I guess even cooler that now I'm a 2-time ITU world champion, something I never thought possible. And so, yeah, for me, there's definitely a lot of emotion behind racing there. And yeah, I just really look forward to that day in April.
Who do you remember watching at that World Cup when you were 10 years old?
So like Emma Carney was racing. I think McKeely Jones. I think Greg Welch was there, which is pretty funny because I'm with Oakley now, and so he's kind of like my boss at Oakley, which is pretty cool. It's really come full circle in that sense. Who else would have been there? Mike Pigg, I think, would have been there in those days. Yeah, lots of people. So it's very cool.
And have you been, I guess you've been influencing like the course and things like that and where they do it? I mean, did you say, look, you've got to do it on this old course, or would they have said, look, we've got an idea to do it there, but maybe we'll do this or that?
Well, fortunately, the old course did have some elements that suited my racing style, so I didn't have to push too hard, but they were definitely like aiming for a course that was more in my direction versus something like pan flat with no corners. But saying that, it's not a crazy technical course. I think it's a very nice, well-rounded course. We don't get many courses with a hill in them on the WTS circuit at the moment, so it's quite cool that one of the main features of the Bermuda bike course is Corkscrew Hill, which is probably only like 30 or 45 seconds. It's pretty steep, but not in steep like the Rio Hill was just so steep. It just, I don't know, no one could really break away or do anything just because it was so steep, whereas this is a nice gradient where you can really attack it. There's a couple switchbacks, and I think it'll really play a role in the race. And then there's some, nice sort of flat stretches and a few technical corners, and yeah, so nothing crazy, but definitely will have a nice kick to it.
So if you could, if you had to choose 10 times, amazing. If you had to choose between Commonwealth champion, world champion again, or winning in Bermuda, which one would you go for? That's a horrible question.
That's a tough one. Don't make me do that. Oh my God, I can't even choose one. So they're all different. I mean, Commonwealth, Bermuda has won like a handful of medals at the Commonwealth level, and in recent years, none that I can remember really in my lifetime. I'd have to like double check that. So to do that for Bermuda is like huge, to win a medal at the games, and especially for me, that's also got a personal connection because Commonwealth Games in 2006 was my first ever professional race. So, now I'm going back. Oh my gosh, this is a long time later now. 12 years?
Yeah.
And so to potentially win a medal in that sense, and then obviously WTS Bermuda winning there would be ultimate, but then you want to defend your world title. Yeah, I don't know. I can't choose.
No, that's a ridiculous
Hopefully
question.
just all three go well. Yeah.
Can you remember? Well, you clearly can. But what was it like lining up on your debut at the Commonwealth Games in 2006 as like this 18-year-old?
Oh my God, it was terrifying. Like, terrifying. And I, at the time, I was almost like oblivious to who a lot of the women I was racing were. I mean, obviously I knew a few, but I was like just wrapping up high school and I'd qualified and I knew it was a huge opportunity. And there's almost once I got there and I looked at like who I was racing and I was just like, oh my God, Flora, like it's such a strong field. And at the time, well, still now, I'm friends with Emma, so Frodeno now, but at the time, she was I mean, she was the favorite to win, and she did up winning. For me, as an 18-year-old, it was just like aspiring to be like her. So it was pretty incredible for my first race to line up on the same starting line as Emma, and of course, various other great female athletes in the race. So yeah, I can definitely remember moments when I'm in the bike in the front pack of the bike, like, what am I doing here? You know, every other name on the butt, I'm like, these are legit ladies. They must be like, who is this little Bermudian in here right now? But it was just a really magical moment for me, and I think, you know, I still look back at that as one of my top moments in my triathlon career, even with the last 2 years going as they have gone.
Just because it was so special, and actually what an incredible achievement as well for someone still in their teens to, you know, finish top 10, second ever, you know, Olympic distance.
Yes, yeah. It's definitely like, what just happened there?
Did you like get on the run and you're like, oh no, I remember the last one, this is such a long way, because you obviously, it was only the second.
Yeah, but there was just so many people lining the streets. It was just like, I don't know, you're just in this zone. And for me, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm running next to, you know, so-and-so. Like, whoa, this is incredible. Yeah, I was just, I don't know, naive and young.
Oh, it's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
And then how did you actually get into triathlon in the first place? Because you've been involved in the sport for ages, haven't you?
Yeah, I've basically been doing it my whole life. In Bermuda, I sort of grew up as a swimmer and a runner, and there were loads of local kids triathlons and even adult triathlons on throughout the summer. So one day when I was 8, my parents entered me into a triathlon, kids triathlon that still goes on in Bermuda today. And, you know, I did it on my mountain bike, a helmet that was too big for me, and off I went in my bikini and like loved it. And, you know, the next week I joined a local kids triathlon club that met every Saturday and, you know, did triathlon stuff. But it was great because like all my friends did it, and it just became a social thing, and I loved sport and loved triathlon. So that's just sort of what I did growing up. And obviously in Bermuda, the climate is perfect for it. Our water is amazing to swim in. And with this nice private, well, not private, but quiet section of the island where we could ride our bikes, and yeah, had lots of local races. And so yeah, that was it. So basically been doing it, yeah, my whole life.
People would kill for that environment, wouldn't they?
Yeah, no, when obviously when I was a kid, I was just like, well, this is normal, right? And then now, obviously, now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was pretty lucky, and yeah, a huge part of me developing, I think, some of the skills that I have today.
And how did you end up in Devon for a few years of your life?
Yeah, so Devon, so Steve True, who I think many people will know his name in the UK, he would come down to Bermuda to do some summer triathlon camps. And I'm not sure how that connection started, but Steve came down every year from basically, I think I was like 10 till 15. And so Steve, obviously, he saw, you know, a lot of me growing up in my childhood, and obviously recognized that I was quite an intense child that really wanted to be a professional athlete and win medals at major games. So when I got to about 16, I knew I wanted to get out of Bermuda and sort of spread my wings a little bit, mostly to pursue triathlon. And so my family is from England, so my parents were born and raised there, and so there was an England connection there. I'd been going to England every summer since I was a little kid, so that sort of seemed like the natural step to go to England. And Steve recommended Kelly College, which is now Mount Kelly, and Millfield. So off I went to tour both of them, and yeah, Millfield was just not right for me. Obviously, great school, lots of nice facilities, but for someone coming out of Bermuda, which is 65,000 people, going to a massive school like that wasn't the right thing. So we looked at Kelly, and it was just perfect. They had an amazing swim team, headed up by Robin Brew, still there today. They now have one of those 50-meter pools, I think one of the legacy pools from London 2012.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I really wish I was there when they had that pool. But yeah, that was sort of the connection. Looked at it, loved it, and off I went, which was quite a culture shock when I arrived there in, geez, it was a long time ago now. I think 2004. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So going from a beautiful island to lovely England, but rainy, cold, big, dark in the
yeah.
winter. That must have been really hard.
Yeah, it was at first. It was quite different. A lot to get used to, but thankfully I had triathlon and I had the swim team, and so I think automatically you sort of do find your place there. Thankfully through sport, I had things to do before and after school, and I had friends that were doing them, and yeah, so I sort of got used to England and the school and everything pretty quickly, and yeah, I had a great time while I was there.
You didn't fancy sticking around for uni though?
No, by the end of my time in England, I was pretty keen to depart the country.
And then is that then when you first started going to making a life in the States?
Yeah, so in England, I did 2 years at Kelly doing my A levels. That took me to 2006, and then in 2006 2008, because it was a 2-year gap, obviously from then till the 2008 Olympics, I didn't really want to change too much. Everything was going pretty well, and then I stayed at Kelly, and I could train there. So and one or two other swimmers also stayed, so we did training together, and obviously I did some triathlon stuff. But then towards leading into Beijing, I was pretty keen to, get out of England, even stopped racing after Beijing, spent a few months in Bermuda working. And it was sort of at that moment, I was like, okay, I need to figure out the next step in my life here. I'm 21 years old. This is not it. And that's when I enrolled at the University of Colorado. So that's January 2009. Off I went to Boulder.
Wow. And then when did you have your little sort of mini retirement? When did you just had enough of triathlon?
So that was about 2 years that lasted, from Beijing 2008, which was August, and then I only did my first triathlon after that in 2010 in June, so just shy of 2 years. Yeah. Which was also like quite a big one that I jumped into. It was the World Cup at the time, that high V race. So it was like this massive big money World Cup. So everybody was there, and I was like, oh, geez, you really picked a good one for your first race back in like 2 years, Flora. But anyway, it went fine, and that was a whole big moment. But yeah, so it was about 2 years that I didn't race. I tried to be a normal college kid. For probably like the first 6 to 9 months I was at school there, so University of Colorado, and then I slowly, through the university cycling team, got my feet back into sort of training and did some racing locally, and then that sort of opened the path back to triathlon.
And had you just had enough of it all during that time?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a series of events that sort of led to me having to take those 2 years away, which I'm like so grateful I did at the time. Sort of a few things, I guess, when I was at Kelly, sort of picked up a little bit of not a little bit, an eating disorder, which, it's one of those crazy things where obviously your performance starts to, in my case, it went up, and I started having these amazing results as an 18-year-old racing World Cups. But obviously, that's like on the outside, but on the inside wasn't particularly healthy, what I was doing and what I was, doing to my body, which my body quickly told me, no, this is not going to work. This is not sustainable. And just kind of completely shut down on me basically midway through 2007. And then it was just this horrible, year from midway through 2007 to get to the Beijing Olympics of trying to figure out what was wrong, trying to figure out how to undo what I'd done to my body. It was just like completely just not responding, and just really what it ultimately wanted was for me to just step away from sports, step away from a bit of the limelight, and just try and recover and work through the sort of issues or things that I needed to live a bit healthier. So that whole series, and obviously there's a bit more to it when you're, wrapped up like in Bermuda. I was, one of the top sporting people at the time, having lots of success. So then you're obviously in the paper and the news, and people know you, and then you start to have a bit of a downfall, and it's quite personal things that I was going through, especially as a 19-year-old girl at the 18, 19-year-old girl at the time. So then you're having to deal with the public just asking you questions, like very personal health questions. And, it was just too much for me. And so ultimately that sort of Beijing race was a bit of a rock bottom moment for me. And but yeah, I think I just realized, no, I need to just step back completely from this space. And didn't know if I would return or when I would, but needed to sort of heal my body and my mind and everything. And yeah, the best thing I did for myself was stepping away, going to Bermuda for a few months, realizing, okay, no, let's push forward here. Let's go to Colorado. Let's just be normal for a little bit. And sort of through that, found myself and found that, no, sport is actually what I really want. And so then I came back I guess, midway through 2009, I was like, okay, let's start training again. But then sort of did it on my own terms, and, I was laid like a little set of ground rules for myself. And I was like, this is what we're following. You're doing this because you love the sport, not for anybody else, not to prove, not to not try and be something you're not, but this is for you because you love it. And if it starts to get negative and take away from your health and happiness and well-being, then you're stepping away again, Flora. And so luckily, somehow through all of that, I managed to, I guess, find a healthy path for myself. But, from when I started in 2010 to where I am now, we're now in 2018, and I really only started to find my feet truly in 2014. So there was definitely, at least 3 years in there where it was still definitely a struggle trying to get back to the form that I'd had. So it's all a big journey, and I think it's important for me now to sort of share all of this, because I think I meet a few young aspiring triathletes now that maybe don't know sort of what 5 years ago was like for me, and just see, two-time world champion for the ITU, and, won quite a few races this year and whatever. But it's like, well, yes, but, everyone has their struggles and their path to get there, and it's not all pretty from the start. And I think that's important that that's shared and spoken about, and that everyone realizes that.
How did you sort of get your body healthier again?
So for me, how did I sort of find my healthy path? To be honest, I don't really even know how. But I think one aspect is that, I guess when I met Dan in 2013, I met him in 2010, so now my husband, Dan. But when we started, I guess, dating in 2013, I think, just being around him and seeing how he navigated this whole professional triathlete life, really opened my eyes, and I don't know, I guess made me feel, just understand nutrition a little bit better, and that, it's actually your fuel. Like, it's super important. Like, now, thanks to him, it's like, I eat as much as I can of the right things. So I think, just being around him really helped heal me and change my perspective. And to be honest, also the fact that I could sort of do all this quietly on my own, and not, see my name in the papers about, looking this certain way and performing this way. I sort of had my own little space to sort of navigate it, and just, I don't know, figure it out. It's a tricky space, and people ask me even now, like, I'll get messages, saying that these people I don't know, that, like, I'm suffering from this and this, like, can you help me? Like, do you have any advice? And I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually like don't even know what I would say to you. And it's like I've been through a similar thing, but yeah, I think it's just quite a tricky space to navigate.
You were signed up for your first 70.3 at the end of November. Unfortunately, you decided obviously not to do it. Was it injury or?
No, not injury. I just, to be honest, had really had enough.
You wanted to fit in the wedding. You wanted to get ready for the wedding.
Yeah, I did. It was, to be honest, like May through September. So the ITU races that I did. I finished Rotterdam and like I got back to Boulder and I had, a few sponsors things to do and went back to Bermuda, came back and in that time I just realized how much load I was carrying that whole season. And I just completely was just like, just really struggled with training basically from then on through all the way till November. Had some good moments, had some bad moments, but I was really like, pretty just mentally done, emotionally done. So I just decided that I could get through Island House. That's sort of a very fun race that I really wanted to do. It's space that I know, it's all short stuff. And then to just jump into a 70.3 the week after, at the time when I committed to it, it sounded like a great idea, but then realistically, I just didn't have it in me to do the race, which was a bummer because I really wanted to do it, and I, obviously felt bad pulling out so late. Wanted to sort of open the door a little bit for myself for 70.3 Worlds this year, but even then, I would have to have done another one this year, and just trying to fit another one in that's even a hard task in itself. So yeah, no injury, just me needing to just check out of triathlon a week early.
I like that. And so 70.3 is not on the radar then this year?
No, I mean, it's in the back of my mind. I would love to do it because it's in South Africa, Worlds. But just to qualify is pretty hard for me right now, just to fit a race in. Obviously, 70.3 South Africa is in a couple of weeks, which would have been great, but because my season finished so late last year and then I took a 4-week break, I'm only on week 2 of training. So doing a 70.3 in 2 weeks would not be a great idea. So it's just really tricky. Maybe 2019 I can prepare myself for. So we'll see. I'd like to test it out. But just finding the time.
When the time is right.
Yes, exactly.
Flora, to nearly done. You're big in Barrow, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's where your dad's originally from, right?
Yes, he is. That is where my dad is from. I've spent a lot of time there in Barrow growing up, running around in the park. Yes.
You made the Barrow News.
I know, that cracks me up. So, because my aunt, she still lives there, and so she's a really big fan of my racing, which is great. She's actually in Rio, watching me. So I think she maybe supplies the Barrow newspaper and the news, keeps them up to date with what's going on. So that's why I'm sort of famous there.
I love it. And so. Yeah. First sort of big major target for you this year is obviously then Gold Coast?
Yeah, Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. Yeah, that's a really big target for me.
How quickly has that come round?
No, super quick. No, it's terrifying. Especially because, I need to do a race before Gold Coast. So that's Abu Dhabi, which is the first weekend of March. And I'm like, oh my gosh, March. Because February is such a short month. I'm like, I don't even count February. So I'm like, geez. So yeah, it comes around quickly. I wish I had a little bit more time of a normal off-season build, but don't have that luxury. So here we go.
Grew up in Barrow.
A family hail from Barrow, yeah.
Yeah.
And used to go over there in the summer holidays and stuff.
How brilliant. What a random place.
Wow.
I love that. I love the stuff about, my I get loads of coverage in the Barrow newspaper because my auntie keeps contacting them saying, get her in. I love that. Imagine just being like, I don't know, a fisherman in Barrow and getting the paper and being like, why is there all these articles about a triathlete from Bermuda?
It would have been, I'm just having a look when this, 11th of August 2017. A Barrow family is celebrating the continued success of a champion triathlete from Bermuda.
Love it.
Although reigning world triathlon champion Flora Duffy hasn't been to Barrow for the best part of a decade, her links to the area are very strong. Flora's dad, Charlie, was born and bred in Barrow, while still living in the town is his sister, Flora's aunt, Anne Reid. So there you go. So yeah, Anne is a very, very proud aunt who spreads the Bermudan love in Barrow, and they went over and watched her race in Leeds, and then they were at her wedding and all that kind of stuff. So clearly a really awesome family.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
It's not just interviews about sport, is it? We get to the heart of the aunties on the show.
Well, I didn't ask about porridge, did I?
Oh, heartbreak.
Oh, I mean, come on. But no, really, really good to hear from Flora, and the way that she opened up as well about the the health struggles that she had around 2008 and that time out that she needed, and then she's obviously come back and found a bit more balance in her life. And I mean, Rob, to go and win the 4 Xterra World titles, it's just insane. In addition to all the other stuff that she's achieved over the past couple of years, it's mental.
Incredibly talented, isn't she?
Yep.
She sure
really,
is.
really.
All right, let's jump in and do a bit of news then. Sponsored by fueledbycake.com. Hells, give us an update. How are the sales coming through on the old charity cake book?
Well, I will tell you, Rob, I know that there were a couple of weeks between Christmas and New Year when baking is the last thing that anybody wants to do. However, this weekend clearly marked the turning point, because quite a few people have been in touch, sending me photos of their bakes from the book.
Yeah, it was all over Twitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Lewis Eccleston, who we had on.
Lewis's flapjack.
His flapjack, courtesy of Joanna Rousel-Shan. So he sent me photos of flapjacks. We've had Kelly Stokes making scones. We have had... I made scones as well, clearly. Oh, then Laura Siddle went round for coffee at a friend's house, and she had made Laura Siddle's Ginger Ninja bars. Someone else had been making... Oh, Annette Edwards got on the Millionaire Shortbread and the Bakewell pudding, and then someone else had made some of the peanut butter energy bars and said, if they're this good, I'm just going to have to start making everything and keep on running.
It's a baking revolution.
There you go. So everyone's been getting in touch. So
if people are missing out, Hells, if they haven't got a copy of the book yet, where do they get one from?
Fueledbycake.com. And then you can buy one on the internet there. And honestly, I am very, very grateful, as I keep on saying. So I'm hoping to raise £15,000. We're up to about $5,500 so far. So quite a lot of books still to sell. But I knew I was never going to sell, 2,000 books in the space of about 6 weeks. So yeah, all good in the hood. So fueledbycake.com, and thank you so much everyone so far, and just keep spreading the word, basically. So Rob, some news in
somebody who needs some cake sending to them right now. So there's a mission for the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast listeners. Get some baking done and get it posted to Helen Jenkins post-surgery. God bless her.
Yeah, she's had a bit of a nightmare, hasn't she? So she has basically, Rob, she's had surgery on her back. So poor Helen, I think it's been a problem for quite a while now. And essentially she says, if I don't do anything about it, it's just going to get worse. And at least having the surgery gives me an opportunity to try to get back to compete. She had already said that she wasn't going to be competing in the Commonwealth Games in the spring because she gave birth last summer.
Has she had a spine fused? Is that what she's had done? Has she had vertebrae fused together? Oh, poor woman. Yeah. So 3-time Olympian. Do you know what? You just hope. I mean, I would love to see her race again, but more than anything, I hope she can get back to the point where she has a pain-free life, because anyone who's had any back pain knows how horrible it is and how much it affects your life. So all the best to you, Helen. Hope you get well soon, and let's I just love the idea of loads of cake arriving at her house in boxes and then I'm having no idea where it's come from.
I'm sure someone will follow you up, Rob.
Well, do you know, if they did, that would be absolutely brilliant. Cake heals injuries, no question. Made with love.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, best wishes to Helen and her family, and here's to a swift recovery from back surgery.
Absolutely.
Then Rob, the other piece of news, which is ridiculously inspiring, comes from Australia, and a triathlete called Lauren Parker is set to compete in the para-triathlon at the Commonwealth Games. Now, what is absolutely amazing is that, sadly for Lauren, last April, she had a really, really freaky bike riding accident, which essentially confined her to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. So that was only April of last year. And she has already competed in a race which has given her a qualifying time for Gold Coast, which is just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
So she won, I think she came, I'm pretty sure, Rob, she came second in her age group at the Ironman World Championship in 2015. So she really was a very, she was a really, really talented long course triathlete. And then, over the past, what would it be now, 9-10 months, her life has just changed completely.
Makes you count your blessings, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So
it really does.
Yeah, isn't that amazing though, to have been back and racing and hopefully finding a sort of obviously a path that she really would never have expected to go down, but able to still do sport, albeit in a different manner to what she could. But yeah, awesome story. So Lauren Parker, all the best to you, as you are on a mission to inspire basically the whole of the Commonwealth at the Commonwealth Games in Australia.
Brilliant stuff. She do you know what, we should nominate her for the Tribe Triathlete of the Month award.
Yeah, well,
someone nominate her. I'll nominate her.
Triathlete of the Year award, Rob.
Yeah, too right. You said it.
I think.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. What an uplifting, sad but uplifting story to finish on, isn't it, really?
Oh, totally. Now, Rob, you mentioned there the Tribe Triathlete of the Month award, and we would like your nominations, please. We need them by the 25th of each month. And effectively, what we have up for grabs is a Tribe booster pack with 18 products from across the whole range and a Tribe t-shirt. And we want to recognise achievement amongst our podcast listener audience, and we need your help to nominate potential winners. You can nominate a training partner, a friend, a club mate, a family member, even yourself, that's fine. And we are happy for the award to recognise past achievements as well. So get in touch.
Sure.
You just have to email helen@oxygenaddict.com with a couple of paragraphs about the person and their achievement, and we will reveal the winner in the last show of each calendar month.
So come on, you guys out there must know some inspiring and incredible stories of achievement. So let's be hearing them. Let's really get those amazing stories out there. Let's get them out to the nation and to the world, hey? That'd be great. helen@oxygenaddict.com is the email address to send it through to by the 25th of the month. And that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week, everybody. Thanks very much for listening. You've been listening to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. Thanks very much to our sponsors, precisionhydration.com. Don't forget you get 15% off with the code OxygenAddict15, team.oxygenaddict.com, and fueledbycake.com. All right, everyone, until next week, have a great, safe training and racing week. We shall speak to you again in another week's time. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll speak to you again next week. See ya.